G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright people, review of the week time. To be honest with you, there's not actually been a great deal of news, in all fairness, this week. Before I actually start review of the week, I actually just want to point out, have a look there on screen. Alright, that is a link. Well, there's a link in the comment section, but that's also a little snippet of Tariq Campbell. He is an up-and-coming amateur trying to get on the Team GB squad. I actually interviewed him there a couple of weeks ago. I might even actually, in fact I will, I'll leave you a link to that interview in the actual comment section. I'll pin that purely because great guy. He's going places as an amateur. He's been on the same squad with people like Dennis McCann. He's definitely going places. Interviewed guys like Lawrence Okodi, and he himself is trying to make a thing on YouTube, which is, I think, a very good idea. I'll tell you why, because not enough, when you see boxers like Paulie Malignaggi and Carl Frampton do it, O'Hara Davis, I don't know if he still has his YouTube channel going, Tyson Booth's probably the best example, but when you see fighters who actually go and start their own YouTube channel, obviously with Tyson Booth it's a bit more comical, but it gives you an insight into the fighter, what they go through, what they're taught, what they're thinking, and how the boxing world is actually run. And with Tariq, it's interesting because he is someone who is looking to get to the Olympics, so you're seeing the journey from an amateur, essentially to hopefully the pinnacle of the amateur game, to a pro game. So that's an interesting one. So link to his channel and the interview we did a couple of weeks ago in the description. Let's talk about boxing. Where do we start? Let's start with the fights that happened. I didn't get a chance to talk about all the fights that happened last night, so I only really talked about the Florian Marku fight. The Florian Marku fight, in which he fought Chris Jenkins. Marku showed his punching power. He has shown, he started with Grant Smith only about 12 weeks ago, so we need to give him a little bit of time for him to actually get really acclimatized with how Grant Smith does things. I didn't touch on it that much in my post-fight review, but Grant Smith, in my opinion, one of the best up-and-coming trainers in boxing, and he's a trainer. His praises are seldom sung, but you see his stamp in a lot of his fighters. You see the improvements he makes to fighters. I mean, he's got Dalton Smith, who's doing very good things up and coming. Sonny Edwards looks fantastic underneath him. It's not just the fact that he's got these fighters who already look good. He's helping them, he's improving them, but his boxing brain is fantastic. He's able to look at a fighter, really assess what he has with the fighter, and is then looking to improve on it. He really does know his boxing. He knows and I guess in a way, this is one criticism I have about Ben Davison. Ben Davison knows boxing, but he can sometimes overcomplicate it. If you hear him decide break things down, and he's trying to tell that to a fighter in the corner in between the 60-second rest. Grant Smith is good at getting his point across. He understands what's going on in there, but he's a way of just kind of simplifying it, talking it down, nice and easy approach. Tremendous trainer. Obviously the main event on that card, now I didn't get a chance to do a post fight for that, was Savannah Marshall against, what was her name, Femke something, I think her name was. I think I have her name actually here. How do you pronounce it? No, I don't have it here. I thought I did. But tremendous punch, tremendous knockout. That girl went the distance with Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields, the more I look at Clarissa Shields, the more, I don't like Clarissa Shields. I think she's not a nice person, but she's very insecure. I mean, you instantly see that in an interview with Clarissa Shields, that there's so much insecurity there. The minute they pointed out that Savannah Marshall stopped her where Shields didn't, Shields is straight there. That was 4 years ago. A different fighter now. Well, you've not stopped anyone since then, by the way. Not that I don't think you have anyway, but you're still not stopping people. That was different 4 years ago. Different fighter, different. I'm not impressed by it. Real just. And it's the way she comes across as well. It's not a case of, it's not, way some people are just real dismissive about things. If that was Tyson Fury, it'd be, well, yeah, he did it, I didn't, sure, I must be a bum then. He's got a way of joking with it, whereas Shields, you can really tell it's defensive, and this isn't me saying that she's not going to win the fight or anything like that, but I'm just looking at it from a character perspective. It's a real case of whenever someone's done something, maybe they've upstaged in a certain way, it's just, I'm jumping to defense, no, but that was then, this is now, I'm different fighter now, I do it now as well, yeah, I'm exactly, that sort of way. She's real defensive and oh no, I'm this, I'm that. Savannah Marshall, very, very seldom you see a knockout like that in female boxing. It was a lovely shot. The way she set that shot up was brilliant. And here's the thing, if I've one major criticism about female boxing, it's this. It's that most female fighters, that left hook Savannah Marshall threw, she had her feet in the perfect position. She was able to dip with her shoulder. she was able to get the perfect amount of extension on the shot, landing with a knuckle part of the glove. So that girl was finished. From the minute that left hook landed, Savannah Marshall is a big puncher and she's got great techniques. The minute that left hook was done with it was done. She was finished. Now, if you see most other females, if they're in that position, they throw shots like that. They throw most shots, right, as the same way an epileptic person would if you put them in a well-lit room. Kind of like that. They're just throwing them all over the place. There's no setup. There's no technique. When you look at Savannah Marshall throw that punch, that is how that left hook is supposed to be thrown. From that stance, her feet in the position they were, the front foot did come up off the ground, which I'm not a big fan of. I think you need to have your feet planted more. That's not always the case. I mean, a lot of times your feet will come up off the ground. It's just a minor nitpick. But the way she was able to rotate her shoulders, get extension on it, landing with the knuckle part of the glove, following through with the left hook, all of which will increase the impact. Because again, a lot of these females, when you see a lot of the shots going, they're swinging, they're wide, they're looping, they're slapping. With Savannah Marshall, you don't get any of that. You know, I think her and Shields is a competitive fight. I don't expect Savannah Marshall to go in there and blow Clarissa Shields out of it. No. But I am definitely picking Savannah Marshall to win the fight. Very, very heavily favouring Savannah Marshall to win the fight. Mid to late stoppage. Certainly if it's in Newcastle, mid to late stoppage. Definitely. You know, I just don't see how Clarissa Shields wins that fight. Clarissa Shields is a tremendous fighter, don't get me wrong. Very talented, but I can't see how Savannah Marshall doesn't win that fight. In terms of some of the other fights that was on over the weekend, there was a DAZN card on in Barcelona. Now, I knew this was on, but I only got a chance to watch a lot of the highlights. I did see Ricards Bolotnick versus Horvat Sepp. I think I talked about that fight. Ricards Bolotnick getting back into winning ways. In many ways, they brought him in as the opponent, but I think I talked about it in midweek review, that his record didn't fill me with confidence. His age certainly didn't fill me with confidence. He's 36 years old. And I thought Bolotnick's, yeah, he came up short against Boatsi and took a bit of a beating in that fight, but he is still better than his record suggests. Like, for example, he's 18-6. He is better than that record suggests. And some of them, I think he lost to Bachunu. I think Bachunu stopped him at cruiserweight. So he's been up at cruiserweight as well. That record, to me, it doesn't do him justice, as I said. He is a better fighter than that. And this was a fun little scrap. You know, he definitely won the fight. It was competitive, but he won that from I seen that at the start of the card. I also seen Jorgelina Guanini versus Stevie Levy. I just could. I when I heard that fight was announced, I just racked my brain thinking, why is Stevie Levy fighting Jorge Guanini? I mean, Stevie Levy had no amateur background. She looked very poor as a pro. Not to say she can't improve, but you take baby steps with her. Ellie Scottney was a very well-schooled amateur, and she struggled badly with Guanini. Many people felt she lost that fight. It's just a completely different ball game. Guanini versus Scottney to Guanini versus Stevie Levy. Stevie Levy is not at Ellie Scottney's level, not even close. So for me, this was always the case of she's going to get battered around the ring. And lo and behold, she got battered around the ring. You know Dave Allen manages her. Look, she tried, she was game. She just wasn't on Guanini's level. Guanini is still quite live. She's still quite active. She was very much in bad shape against Rachel Ball when she fought her back in 2020. Guanini is a very much a live opponent. As for Stevie Levy, I mean, they were saying that the weight wasn't ideal, that this fight was at Super Bantam, was at 122 pounds. She's been up as high as 130 before, so maybe she want to look at maybe going down, dropping down a level to bantamweight if she can. We'll see there. The fight of the night was this one: Samuel Carmona versus Yoel Cordava. This was a flyweight contest, or superfly, I should say. Sorry, apologies, superfly. This was a fantastic little scrap. You know, Cordava was down, I think, in the ninth round. It was just it was a fun fight. This whole card was good. It was culminated by Sandor Martin versus Jose Felix. Again, Sandor Martin did what he needed to do, won every single round. He's going from strength to strength. Now, that Mikey Garcia fight has lit a fire under him. Spain are actually doing quite well with some of these fighters. I know Kerman Lejaraga is another fighter. I think he's from Bilbao, not Barcelona, but he's another one of the Spanish fighters who was really coming to prominence. I believe he's fighting, what's the guy's name? JJ Metcalf. Now, I think in April or May, and that'll be a good fight. He's always entertaining scraps. So we have that. In terms of some of the other news that we have that's been up and going, obviously the big news this week has been the fact that we now have George Kambosos versus Devin Haney. It's official. It's happening June the 4th in Australia. Rematch, I believe, as far as I think it was Chris Andre. Shout out to him. Correctly informed me that, yeah, the rematch would be in Australia. Home field advantage for George Kambosos. On the wave of a crest of momentum following on from the Teofimo Lopez win, Devin Haney struggling a bit at the weight. George Kambosos is quite relentless, ferocious. Devin Haney looking to go for stoppages, maybe feeling he can't box his normal fight in Australia because maybe he won't get the decision. I think this has all the makings of a fantastic fight. I've been racking my brain the last few days thinking about this fight. Some of the things I think about, just boxing. People say, like, what do you think about in your day-to-day life? It'd be like, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? What am I going to do in the gym? Am I going to do shoulders or chest? And boxing. That's literally it. What video am I going to make tonight? That's it. Not a lot. I think of a lot of other things as well, now, to be fair. But during the day, that would be pretty much it. I think of a lot of other things as well. I'm only joking there, but still, boxing would dominate it mainly. But I'm racking my brain going back and thinking, who do I have in this fight? I mean, the fact it's in Australia really is leading me on Kambosos, but I know how good Devin Haney can be. And I know he can make the difference. And it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a really, really, really good fight. And another good fight we had this week announced was obviously the Nita Daenerys versus Naomi Inoue. I already talked about that, but another tremendous fight. Absolutely great fight. A fight that I'm really looking forward to seeing again. Second time around. First fight was fantastic. If it's anything like that, we are in for a big treat, lads. We're in for a massive treat if we have that fight. It was anything like the first fight. Just because, like, you know, just the punches that were thrown by both guys, they were able to exchange. They both took what the other guy had to give, and they just fought brilliantly in that first fight. If they can do it in the second fight, I think Naomi Inoue is going to win this more convincingly this time around. I hope he doesn't stop Nita Daenerys because I love Nita Daenerys. I don't want to see him get stopped, but I expect him to win. I really do. I think the Nita Daenerys, I thought he was done after the Frampton loss. I thought that's the last we'll see in the Nita Daenerys. Comes down to bantamweight, 2 weight divisions down. And look what he's done. It's quite remarkable, really, when you think about it. It really is. But I expect Naomi Inoue to win that fight. In terms of other fights we have, obviously this week, it's quite an interesting schedule we have this week. There's no watch-alongs happening this weekend, unfortunately. I'm just too busy on Saturday. Triple G versus Murata. We'll watch that, but we won't do a watch-along. I'm pretty sure we won't anyway. Garcia versus Tago and Taggio. I might be saying that name wrong. And obviously Lubin versus Fundora. April is just lit. Next week we've got Ben versus Van der Herden, is what it is. Spence versus Ugas. That came about fairly quick, didn't it? It just seems like only yesterday that fight was announced. It came about fairly quick. Tyson Fury, Dillian, Whyte. We're 3 weeks out from that fight now, actually. We have no undercard announced for it yet. Now, I'm going to be frank, right? I'm not expecting a particularly strong undercard for that fight. I know Isaac Lowe was going to be on it. He's always on Fury's undercards. But in terms of competitive fights, we're 3 weeks out. There's no other announcements on the undercard. When a fight of this magnitude is happening and there's so much money going to both guys, you're really reaching if you expect the undercard is going to be stacked. It just won't be. I mean, like, I wouldn't be shocked if... Jesus, I mean, God knows who they're going to put on that undercard, but I can't imagine it's going to be anybody particularly stellar. You know, I'd say it's all going to be going towards the main event. It'll be a couple of just fillers on the undercard. Who would he get out? Would he get Anthony Yard out, maybe announce him on short notice for a knockover job? Maybe he would. But I can't imagine it's going to be anybody particularly decent on the undercard. It's mainly going to be Fury Whyte. That is their show. That is their fight. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You know, obviously Fury this week, we've seen him spar. Well, we didn't see him sparring, but he's got Big Farmer in sparring, Jarrell Miller. So, as I said, not really like Dillian Whyte stylistically, but obviously having a big, massive unit if he's looking to come forward and he's going to be in close quarters. Jarrell Miller, certainly pre-ban, is just unbelievably strong. You know, up close and just crazy, really. Dillian Whyte's not like that, but Dillian Whyte up close, he can be rough up close, he won't be as big, but in terms of just marauding forward like Miller does, Dillian Whyte doesn't do that. His footwork is terrible, but he doesn't do that. He still tries to work his way in with the jab, but I can see why they've got Miller in that regard. Dillian Whyte, radio silence from him still, we haven't heard anything. Obviously at the end of the month, obviously Valdez versus Stevenson, that's the fight I'm watching that night. I know Taylor Serrano and Vargas Smith is on, but I mean Valdez versus Stevenson, you gotta That fight is going to be... Shakur Stevenson is going to come of age in that fight. He is going to beat the living crap out of Oscar Valdez, and we're going to see him really... He's going to come to life after that fight. Mark my words, he is going to come to life after that fight. In terms of some of the other news, like that, again, like, it's not really been... I don't want to be repeating myself, if you know what I mean, because it's kind of like I'm going over what midweek report was. I'm kind of going over it again, what kind of last week's kind of stories were. In terms of everything else, there's really not been too much else in terms of kind of the news that's been broken. Obviously, there's people like Munguia versus Jacobs. That's recently been announced. It should be at 164 pound catch weight. We'll see how good that goes. I don't know how good that will go. I did see Ben Shalom give an interview, and just touching back on Florian Marku, by the way, that a fight he would kind of look to make for Marku potentially would be Florian Marku versus Amir Khan. Amir Khan, Florian Marku. Could you imagine that? Florian Marku, go back to him. He strikes me as someone who can be outboxed. Amir Khan is someone who can be hurt very, very badly. Very badly. At this stage in Amir Khan's career, I would even be reluctant to see him in there again. I'd be very wary about him going in with anyone who can pack a remote punch, because his defense is not the greatest. His reflexes have clearly slowed down, and his feet. Now, his footwork is still alright, but his feet have slowed down noticeably. So how is he going to get out? How is he going to be able to evade some of Marku's swinging shots? Because he does swing a bit, does Florian Marku. They were talking about doing that in Albania. It's quite remarkable, really, when you see Florian Marku and you see how many fans he's able to generate. You know, I mean, that Newcastle arena, obviously they were there for Savannah Marshall as well, but the Albanian, whenever Marku would land, the cheers, it was crazy. It's crazy how popular he is. This is obviously someone coming from an MMA background. It's not like he was a gold medalist for Albania in the Olympics, that he turned pro with just this, everyone knew him. You're talking about essentially a novice boxer. Obviously he's a bit better than that now, but even when he was in 4 rounders at York Hall, crazy numbers. I mean, he really is a promoter's dream. Ben Shalom really hit the jackpot there with Florian Marku. The Shalom stable is growing ever more. Boxer is starting to come good. I really look, the undercards on some of these Sky shows, they're not amazing. They're not amazing. But we gotta give him time. I mean, look at some of Eddie Hearn's old undercards back when he started out with Sky. They weren't amazing. Even some of the main events weren't amazing, you know, in retrospect, you know, looking back, because Eddie Hearn was starting from scratch more or less with Sky. You know, we had Carl Froch. AJ wasn't the star he was, or he would go on to be. Obviously, he was big at the time, Olympic gold medalist, but he wasn't proven. He didn't have that. Well, he had a massive fan base, to be fair, but it wasn't what it became in, say, 2011 or 2017. So it took a couple of years for Eddie Hearn. It took him about 2 years, roughly, to kind of get really kind of started to do good numbers. You know, Froch really helped. The Grove kind of thing helped as well. George Groves, when they were having their beef, it really did help, and it excelled Anthony Joshua's career in many ways. He was fighting on those undercards. And, you know, people needed to sign with Eddie Hearn. You know, at the time, Fish Eyes, you know, was pretty much the guy. You know, Frank Maloney was still knocking around when Eddie Hearn started. Obviously, after 2013, Frank Maloney's talked about coming back to boxing in the past. I've seen him in interviews, even as recent, I think it's 2019. He's been saying that he's always looking to come back to boxing. He never has. And I doubt he will, to be honest with you. I think maybe he would like to get back into maybe managing and stuff like that. But in terms of promoting, I think that ship sailed after David Price. He really put so much investment into David Price that lost, that whole David Price lose, especially talking about the rematch. I think that really got Frank Maloney out, and he's never been able to really recover from that in terms of promotional point of view. He's tried to come back. I remember 2016 he tried to come back. I think he even announced a few fighters on IFL, but like that, it never went anywhere. So we got to give, but Ben Shalom, speaking of, look, we got to give him time. He's trying to build his stable. He's getting fighters as they come out, and it's interesting, isn't it, that this is the funny thing I find very interesting. In the Rio turnover, a lot of the pros went with Matchroom. The majority went with Matchroom. In fact, I would say probably about 90% went with Matchroom. Now, some are going to Frank Warren. Some are going to Matchroom. The majority are going to Boxer and Probellum. There's more options, more opportunities there now. Alright, and a lot of these from the Rio 2020, not the Rio, a lot of these from the Tokyo. It was in Tokyo, wasn't it? Was it in Tokyo? I got that mixed up badly last time. I'm pretty sure it was in Tokyo, this just gone, the 2020 team. So a lot of them, I see a lot more promise in them than I ever did with the Rio squad. Other than Boatsi, and he's not really fulfilled it. And Akali I didn't really think would do much, but he proved me wrong. Other than that, they've not really done anything. Whereas this squad is a lot better. I've more confidence in them in doing good things. So a lot of them are going with Probellum and Sky. That's good for them. In terms of other news, I pretty much think that's it. That's pretty much all I wanted to cover. So I was worried this would be a really short review of the week, that like less than like 15 minutes. I think I've gone over the 15-minute mark. I'm pretty sure I have anyway. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, we get these out on a Monday. I think I've been doing these for nearly a year now. I don't think I've missed a Monday yet, apart from Christmas when it was just nothing happening. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Smash the like button if you enjoyed it. Help your boy out. We've got 6,951 subs. 49 subs away from 7k. Can we do it this week? Share the video and we might be able to. Let me know your thoughts, lads. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.